The Apostle Paul arrived in Athens, the brilliant heart of the ancient world. He walked through streets buzzing with life, beneath the shadow of the city of magnificent temples and bustling crowds. But everywhere he looked, he saw idols of stone and gold, and his heart grew heavy with compassion for this spiritually hungry people. He began to speak, first in the synagogue, then in the marketplace where philosophers debated daily. Some mocked him, calling him a babbler, but others were curious and brought him to Mars Hill to address their council. Standing before Athens' wisest minds, Paul began respectfully. "I see you are very religious," he said. "I even found an altar to an unknown God. Let me tell you who he is." Paul described the true God, the creator of all things, who doesn't live in man-made temples. In him, we live and move and have our being, he explained, quoting their own poets. Since we are God's children, we shouldn't think he resembles gold or silver idols. When Paul spoke of Jesus' resurrection, some laughed, but others listened intently. Among them were Dionysius, a council member, and a woman named Damaris, who believed. As Paul journeyed on, a small plant grew where he had stood, a symbol that in the heart of human wisdom, the seeds of faith had taken root. Music swells gently and fades. In the city of Philippi, Paul and Silas were arrested, beaten, and thrown into prison for preaching and freeing a slave girl from an evil spirit. Despite their painful wounds and being locked in stocks in a dark dungeon, they prayed and sang hymns to God at midnight. Suddenly, a powerful earthquake shook the prison, opening all the doors and loosening every prisoner's chains. The jailer, seeing the open doors, assumed everyone had escaped and prepared to kill himself. But Paul stopped him, shouting, "We are all here!" The amazed jailer fell before them, asking how to be saved. Paul and Silas told him to believe in Jesus Christ. The jailer and his whole family were baptized that very night. The next day, when officials came to release them, Paul insisted they personally escort them out, revealing they were Roman citizens who had been unlawfully punished. The story shows how faith can turn despair into hope and imprisonment into salvation. The story of Paul is shipwrecked. The Roman ship carrying Paul as a prisoner fought against churning gray seas. Paul warned the captain of the looming danger, but his words went unheeded. Soon a hurricane-force wind, the Eurykilo, trapped them in a nightmare of waves and darkness. For 14 days the storm raged, and all hope was lost. But in the flooded hold of the ship, a divine messenger appeared to Paul, bringing a promise. No life would be lost. Climbing onto the storm-ravaged deck, Paul stood before the 276 terrified souls and declared, "Take heart." His faith became their anchor in the chaos. When the ship struck a sandbar and shattered into pieces, his promise held true. Every last person made it safely to the shore of an unknown island, Malta. As they built a fire to warm themselves, a viper struck Paul's hand. The islanders watched, expecting the worst, but Paul simply shook the creature into the flames, unharmed. This miracle opened the door for another. Paul healed the father of the island's chief, Publius, which led to many more being cured. In return, the people honored them and supplied all their needs. From the tempest and the snakebite to healing and honor, Paul's journey continued, all the way to the gates of Rome, where a new chapter of his mission was about to begin. Paul preaches in Rome. Paul arrived in Rome a prisoner, yet his spirit was unbound. Housed in his own rented home, though guarded day and night, he did not see chains. He saw an opportunity. His first act was to call together the local Jewish leaders. With great respect, he explained his story, emphasizing that it was for the hope of Israel that he wore his chains. Intrigued, they returned in great numbers. From morning until evening, Paul opened the scriptures to them, showing how the law and the prophets pointed to Jesus. Some were persuaded, their hearts opening to the truth. Others remained skeptical, their minds clouded by doubt. To them, Paul issued a sobering warning, quoting the prophet Isaiah about hearts grown dull and ears hard of hearing. Therefore, he declared, the salvation of God has been sent to the Gentiles, and they will listen. And so it began. For 2 full years, Paul welcomed all who came to him, Jew and Gentile alike. Though his wrist was bound by a soldier's chain, his message was utterly unchained. In that small Roman house, he preached the kingdom of God with boldness and without hindrance, a single light shining brightly in the heart of the empire.